Hi everyone, welcome back to Tax Tutoring and Training. My name's Hannah, and today's lesson is on the ethics training / code of conduct training that you will need to be completely certified to prepare tax returns as a volunteer income tax assistant / tax counseling for the elderly intern. So let's get started. First of all, as a resource, a set of guided notes will be linked in the description. This is if you're also an educator for educating your interns for the VITA program and you want to use this slideshow as kind of notes training. You can print out the guided notes. The blanks will be highlighted in the slideshow, so your students will be able to follow along and listen but still be engaged. All right, let's get to it. So the ethics / code of conduct certification is to make sure that every intern knows the standards of conduct and is willing and able to follow them as a VITA volunteer to maintain the standards of our program, of your site, and of your personal professional composure. So for this certification, you'll need to get 8 out of 10 questions right on the test. And most of the test questions are based on the volunteer standards of conduct, which are 6 behaviors that should be followed at all times when working as a VITA volunteer. So the first one is to follow all quality site requirements. And quality site requirements are basically standards put in place to make sure that your site is operating under professional conditions, that everyone is well equipped to prepare taxes for clients, and that it is a reputable place that is able to maintain its qualifications so that you can trust that your taxes are preparing in the highest regard at that site. So the VSC guideline number 2 is do not accept payment or ask for donations. Sometimes clients that we're working with are very grateful and they do want to pay us for our efforts. But since we're volunteers, we are not allowed to accept any payment. And that includes any form of tips, any form of oh, thank you very much, hush money. You can't do that. You have to give it back because you are a volunteer organization and we are not able to or legally allowed to accept payment. So guideline number 3 is, this kind of goes along with it. You're not able to solicit business from taxpayers. So as a volunteer intern, as a VITA intern, you're going to be coming in contact with much of the taxpayers' private information. And as a volunteer, you cannot use that for your own personal gain. So say I'm a CPA and I have my own professional tax return business. As a volunteer, as a VITA volunteer, I can't ask a client to come with me and to use my own business if they need to be referred to a professional taxpayer, since they are, say, out of scope for the VITA program. So if they're out of scope and they need to see a professional taxpayer, you can't insert yourself and say, here, come to my business. I can help you more. You have to let them make the equal choice for all of their needs. So guideline number 4, do not knowingly prepare false returns. This is a given. As a volunteer, your primary goal should be to help the client. It shouldn't be to harm them. So show respect for their information, show respect for their time, and show respect for their need. Because at the end of the day, you are responsible for helping them, not harming them. So guideline number 5, do not engage in criminal, infamous, dishonest, or disgraceful conduct. This goes along with it. You're here to help, not to harm. So don't do anything stupid that would have a negative effect on people's perceptions of the VITA / TCE program or your site. And finally, our last guideline is to treat all taxpayers in a professional, courteous, and respectful manner. You are professionals at this point. You're dealing with professional clients, and thus all taxpayers should be treated with respect, even if they don't treat you with respect, because we need to be professional. You are representing your site and you're representing the IRS VITA program, so you need to maintain this the reputation of this amazing program to help your community by being respectful and following these guidelines. So, quality site requirements. We talked a little bit more about that in the first volunteer standard of conduct. And this is basically a set of standards that your site, which is where you practice being a VITA volunteer, has to follow in order to able to be a legal volunteer site, basically. So, for example, the first quality site requirements is that all volunteers must pass their certifications using the IRS tests. So this is what we're doing right now. So if you want to be a volunteer at a VITA site, you have to pass all the certifications, including the ethics and conduct training, which is what I'm teaching you right now. If you don't complete these certifications, you are not preparing tax returns to the best of your ability and might also be knowingly preparing false returns, which reflects badly on your site. And the IRS could actually shut your site down if all your volunteers aren't certified and aren't following the site requirements or following the standards of conduct. So you need to make sure you're following these to respect your site and help make sure that it's still seen as a reputable, credible place for clients to go and that they can trust you with their information so that the VITA program can continue. Some extra info that I'm just going to reinforce is that for this certification test, you need to get 8 out of 10 questions right. You can take this on the IRS Link and Learn website. And if you are the volunteer but are uncomfortable with filing the return, don't prepare it. If you are uncomfortable with filing returns, say you suspect fraudulent information, please tell your site coordinator so that you guys can coordinate effectively to make sure we're not knowingly preparing false returns. In our case, for the West CTA VITA location, our site coordinator is Miss Patty Buno. So when I teach this lesson to my students, we have to go through her, and they have to check with her to make sure that if they do suspect fraudulent activity, they're not preparing a return they don't feel comfortable with. As a volunteer, you need to make sure that your fellow volunteers are also keeping up with the quality site requirements and the standards of conduct. So please report any violations when seen so that we can help maintain the trustworthiness and good standing of the VITA program, because it's a wonderful program and it helps the community. So we want to continue it. The IRS is the ultimate enforcer of rules for the VITA program. And as a volunteer, we need to be respectful of that, and we need to respectfully represent the IRS in trying to prepare honest and truthful tax returns to aid the community. As a volunteer, you are protected, which means you are not held liable if you accidentally prepare a false return. As long as you're maintaining with the quality site requirements and you're following the volunteer standards of conduct, which one of them is to do no willing harm, then you will not be held liable. This is kind of goes in line with the Good Samaritan Act, meaning that if you're trying to help to the best of your ability, meaning you're following all these guidelines, you won't be held liable if something accidentally goes wrong. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. I hope this helped clarify some of the ethics / conduct standards that you'll need to know for your VITA certification. Or if you just had questions about what kind of standards that VITA volunteers need to practice in order to prepare respectful returns, then I hope this answered some of your questions. Once again, guided notes are down below, and included with the guided notes is a small little assignment. So if that helps reinforce the material, I hope that helps. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys next time.